Lucie Charles-Barclay has dropped out of the race today.
The defending Ironman world champion Lucie Charles-Barclay is not going to make it, unfortunately. This incredible course here in Nice.
Fantastic to see Lucie Charles-Barclay back.
Lucie Charles-Barclay!
Ironman 70.3 champion, Eagleman.
Lucie Charles-Barclay, congratulations, you are our T100 London champion, and she wins here in Spain.
You know, this is the time to take home wins and podium.
Start to think she's unlocked the potential of what she can do.
Okay, let's talk about Kona. Let's talk about what happened.
As the lights turn left onto Queen Car Humanu Highway.
Good ride. What was that, 2.5?
Yeah.
The last few years have been quite rocky with highs and lows and injuries, and 4 wins this year across different distances. I'm healthy right now, I'm happy right now, and as long as I can go into the race and just deliver what I've done in training on the race course, I know that that will lead to something great.
Woo! Job done.
That is the easiest 28k we've done.
Yeah, the switch you've done, consistent.
It's the smoothest preparation I've ever had. I was lining up healthy, injury-free, and it felt like the stars were aligning for an incredible performance. I was obviously the last person to win on the Big Island, and I had a lot of anticipation to deliver an even better performance than then, given that I was healthy, in great shape, and just really excited to race.
1 hour to go until the gun goes, the cannon goes. Right here on the Olympic drive.
A big welcome to all of our athletes from our 78 countries represented around the world.
Hold up that mana from below, and you will succeed in what you set your heart and mind to do.
I think the atmosphere was very different on race morning compared to the last 5 times that I've lined up. It was the first time ever that it was high tide, there was a huge swell. We couldn't actually line up on Digby Beach because there was no beach. The waves were crashing in and it felt quite tense. I remember I spent a long time swimming, warming up in the water before the race start, and then found my place on the start line pretty last minute before the gun went.
And we are racing the 2025 Ironman World Championship is now underway. Let's go, go, go!
The race started exactly how it did in 2023. I had a big gap almost straight away in the swim. I was able to swim really well in the swell. It definitely felt tough. It felt like the hardest swim conditions I've had ever on the Big Island, but that suits me as a strong swimmer. So when I exited the swim, it felt like everything was going to plan. I felt great. Getting out onto the bike, I definitely didn't feel as good as in 2023 at the beginning of the bike, but I wasn't concerned because I've had different things happen on the island and it always seems to kind of pan out in the end. So once I was up onto the Queen K, I felt extremely thirsty and it didn't worry me. I was like, maybe I've swallowed salt water, but I was like, okay, I just need to get on top of this. I drank a lot of water very quickly, got through my first 2 bottles very quickly, then used the aid station, got more water, but nothing was getting on top of that thirst.
The bike, I have absolutely no idea when she's riding how she's feeling, other than what I can see on the telly. There's not much you can draw from that. I could look at the timings of her compared to the competitors and could see that she was having a really good day on the bike, like the gap to the really, really fast runners, so Kat and Laura were the main ones obviously. It was growing and growing all the time. Obviously she got a penalty, which, yeah, she looked okay even in the penalty tent, like she didn't look angry or anything on the telly, so I thought she must be feeling okay.
Most athletes are really good at, I think, even if you're not feeling great, telling yourself that it's fine, you're feeling good, it's nothing to worry about. Adding on the bike that I was given a 1 minute penalty for unintentional littering, I was able to use that minute to try and hydrate even more. Like I had a full bottle of water that I drank a lot of that, but even in that minute used in that time, I just could not get on top of that thirst. And it should have been alarm bells, but it wasn't. I was like, okay, it's fine, like you've drunk loads. So even in that moment, I wasn't stressed. I think now looking back, I'm like, oh, they should have probably been telltale signs that something wasn't right. But in the moment, I was like, it's fine. My energy levels certainly felt good. Even towards the end of the bike, I was still pushing really strong and feeling good.
I saw her very early on into the run, and I don't know if this is something to do with when I saw her very early onto the run in 2023 when she won, and maybe I've got PTSD from that moment when she said her calf was really bad, but I personally felt like she didn't look great, even though she was running well and slowly closing back on Taylor. So I felt this impulse to go and make sure I was able to follow Lucie. Obviously at a legal distance you're not allowed to be coaching, but I was always like 100 metres behind Lucie on that course. It was a strange one. I just felt on edge the whole time she was on the run. I never felt relaxed. I never felt that she was in complete control, and I can't say why that was. It was just the feeling I had.
I remember really wanting to get to that first aid station to use it, and again did everything I normally would, used ice to cool down, and now when I look back I think nothing was really working how it normally would, but I was still running incredibly well, closing the gap down to Taylor, eventually getting to Polani and making the pass on her, and when I made that pass I was like, well, this is it, like I still feel good, I'm gonna get the win today, like it's gonna happen.
After Lucie had made the pass on Taylor going up Polani, I decided, okay, I need to head back to town. Then for some reason I just stopped and I just sat on the floor and looked up at the mountain and just thought for a minute, maybe I should head back towards the energy lab. I had no idea that Lucie was about to be struggling. She was still running really well. She'd opened a small gap up on Taylor, I think it was like 20 seconds at that point, so I had nothing to indicate that she was about to have what happened.
I started to just not feel right, like I felt absolutely freezing, and I was like, this is not a good sign. Like, I know I'm warm, but I feel really cold. It wasn't long after that Taylor recaught me, and even in that moment, in my mind, I kind of was like, Taylor must be feeling worse than I am. So just run with her, like you're not feeling great, but just run with her. Like it's gonna be really cool for everyone watching that we're having a battle and running together. And then not long after that, when we made the left turn into the energy lab, was when I guess I really started to stumble and started to think, actually, I don't know if I'm okay, like am I actually gonna make it here?
Out of all of the athletes racing today, I never would have thought that I would have seen Lucie Charles-Barclay in this position.
And then my phone rang and it was our manager Evan to say that Lucie's really struggling. And then Dan rang me and said that Lucie's walking, and I basically just said to him, you need to get the medical car.
And one of the things I do remember is I was running and someone from Ironman was like, you're not on the race course, you're like way too wide off of the course. But I got myself back on the course and actually got myself running again, was running pretty fast, and then running downhill into the energy lab. I still was kind of making the most of the downhill, but once I was kind of deep into the energy lab, I knew I was in trouble. I didn't know how I could fix it. I was trying to, again, use everything in the aid stations, like even having a Red Bull, but it wasn't working. And then it wasn't long after that when I started to do the uphill run out of the energy lab, I saw Reese there, and I just knew, like, he's here because he also knows I'm in trouble.
soon as I saw Lucie, it was just decision made, like, finish, like, there was no way she was going to get back.
I wasn't in a rational headspace anymore. I wasn't quite with it. Like, even my memory of the energy lab is a little bit wishy-washy. People have asked me, like, did you argue to continue? And I was like, no. I knew that this is the right thing, like, I need to stop. Yeah, I hope that I wouldn't have done any real damage, but obviously I'm really grateful Reece was there to make that actual smart, informed decision to pull me off the course.
Lucie Charles-Barclay's husband, Reece Barclay. It's hard to watch.
Yeah.
Sport is our life, but there comes a point where caring for a loved one always comes above that, and you realise that yes, sport is everything to us, but there's a level above that comes above sport. And as a professional athlete, as Lucie is a world champion, it's not often you get to see there is something above sport, because it is her entire life. But for me as a husband, I think it's like she'll live to fight another day for sure, and health always should come first.
Oh.
Go down.
Very sweaty. I have all pretty much positive memories from racing on the Big Island. Every time I've raced as a professional, I've gone to the Champions edition of Breakfast with Bob, then I've gone to the Champions banquet. I've just had really positive feelings, whereas there was none of that. So it felt quite empty, and it was like, actually, I guess all you want to do is then get home and be surrounded by your people and your family, and yeah, try and tell them that you're okay as well. I remember actually one of my immediate things was like, Reece, can you make sure my family know that I'm okay, like I'm going to be fine? But yeah, it's always difficult to deal with when you've put so much work into something, you've done what you consider perfect preparation, but then it still just doesn't come together on the day. But that's part of sport, I guess. So once we arrived home and started to dive more into the data of my racing, obviously we've got core temperatures, we've got power data, we've got heart rate numbers. We were looking at all of that, and something just really wasn't adding up as to why this happened. Obviously spoke with my coach Dan, and he was also the same. He was like, your core temperature is completely in a range that would be fine. Your heart rate and power numbers are completely in a place that you've trained with. Your heart rate isn't continuing to rise like it would if you're getting heat exhaustion. It's actually, the heart rate's stable throughout the whole race. Even on the run, when I walk to the aid stations, the heart rate is actually coming back down, which if you're overheating, that's not going to happen. So initially we just thought, you know what, you've got two titans, myself and Taylor, going to battle, and we're just pushing ourselves to our limit. But looking back on the data, that suggested otherwise. So then we started to consult with my medical team, my sports doctors. We had a heat stress expert who I consulted with as well. We obviously did numerous tests and blood tests to try and dive into why this happened. At this point, we don't really have a definitive answer. We have these experts that have their opinions, but they weren't on site in Kona to do an instant analysis of blood samples. So all of it is still speculation at this point. Whether it was a heat stress injury, actually it's pointing more towards it being hyponatremia or something along those lines.
Upon reflection, there would have been absolutely nothing in training that we could have ever done to have not made the mistakes that we did, other than going to Kona and doing a full race simulation under the environment that we was in, against the competitor like Taylor, and taking that nutrition on and measuring her blood every hour. We would never have known. Kona is brutal, we all know that, we all prepare for it, and I think it's just a reminder that anything can happen in that race. That's why we line up. It's not just like everyone lines up and the favourite wins. Things can happen, and that's why we do sport, that's why it's exciting. Regardless of what happened to me and Taylor, the best athlete won on the day. Solveig paced her race to perfection. She pretty much rode the entire ride solo and then paced her run to get the win. So
a huge congratulations to her, and I look forward to having another battle next year on the Big Island.
Please welcome Lucie Charles-Barclay of Great Britain.
There was a moment where I questioned whether or not that was the end of our journey there. Lucie's had 4 second places and then to finally win, and then for this to happen, I was questioning whether or not there was any more lessons to be learned to go back there. That then very quickly turned to, actually no, this can't be the way the chapter ends.
It's a dream falling apart, and Lucie worked so hard for this. She really wanted that second win. She gave everything. It's a really hard moment.
She's a multiple Ironman and Ironman 70 points.
I feel like within 48 hours of the race we were already like, hang on a minute, we need to turn this around, and the quicker we do it the better, just to kind of really switch out of that heartbreak that we was in to a more positive place. We had a lot of things going on. We lost Reese's granddad, and it just was a really, really tough time, and I feel like I was struggling mentally to just get going and do the training. I was doing it, and physically I was actually doing pretty well, but mentally it felt like a real struggle to just do the work needed. Thankfully I knew I only had to do it for 3 weeks, so it was like, you've just got to get on with it, you've got to do it. And then after about 2 weeks, my headspace completely changed. I was so much more positive, and the training was coming, and the numbers I was seeing were positive, and I was like, okay, I feel like I might be turning this around. And not even knowing if I would make the start line in Marbella, it became like, oh, I actually feel like I could do quite well in Marbella. So there was a real switch, but I'd say like it was 2 weeks of really struggling, and then 2 weeks, which included race week, of actually feeling a lot more positive and excited for the race.
Basically just said to Lucie we won't make the decision until we have to get on an aeroplane to go there. Bags were packed, but still not 100% sure if we would go to the final hour. On Tuesday afternoon of race week, which is more similar to how we approach the T100 races I've been doing all season, where you come in fairly late, you might not have ever seen the course before. Until you're actually physically there to see it, it's hard to kind of get your bearings. So that was really important when we did get there, that I rode some of the course, did the main climb, which reminded me a lot of Tabea going Lanzarote, which I love that climb. So I was like, okay, I've already got really good feelings here. We did the descent a few times with the car behind me, and every single time I did the descent better. So I was like, I'm glad I've done it a good few times. The day before the race, I went and swam the whole swim course just to again get my bearings for what I'm sighting. And I'd done some running on the run course, but mostly on the sandy surface. If I can feel good running on that surface, that's possibly going to be the slowest part of the run, and I felt really good there. So I was like, okay, that's another really good confidence boost. I always like to leave little bits that I haven't seen either, because I feel like it's more exciting on race day, which is contrast to Kona, where I feel like I know every single inch of that course. Yeah, and I think coming in last minute also doesn't give you enough time to overthink things. So we was literally there, unpack the bike, do the bike course, find somewhere to run, find somewhere to swim, and then the next thing you know, it's the day before race day and you're racking your bike, plus all of the media stuff that goes with a world championship.
What's your mantra going into the race tomorrow?
I think just suck it up. Like, it's gonna get tough, so just gonna suck it up.
Midway through the season, we decided to add in 70.3 Eagleman. Originally, when we planned out the season, it was just T100, an Ironman qualifier and Kona. But yeah, Lucie was racing really well and bouncing back good between races. So yeah, we threw that in.
Yeah, in case Kona didn't go to plan.
And that's exactly what happened.
So thank God we did.
And actually that whole trip to Eagleman and Vancouver was a real test because it was back-to-back racing across the whole of North America, Canada. So it was a real challenge, but I'm really pleased that we decided to do that because otherwise Marbella wouldn't have been an option.
Start line I was calm, but I actually was just excited. I was like, you know what, I've almost been written off for this race, so it is quite liberating of like, I know I feel pretty good, but there's no expectation on me. It was likely I would enjoy the day, or that was pretty much my main goal, just enjoy the day and whatever will be, which for a world championship is a very different approach. Normally it's very high pressure, there's a world title on the line, which obviously there's always that in the back of my mind, but I was just excited to see what I could do and how my body and mind had come around since Kona.
If she could deliver what she'd been doing in training and also what she'd been doing before Kona, then there was no reason for her to not have a really good day out there. But yeah, I think both of us were probably just a bit relieved to have you back on the start line. Still a little bit of apprehension and nerves, mostly because most people had said it wouldn't be possible to come back from the episode in Kona in such a short period of time. And that plays on your mind a little bit.
When the gun went, we ran in, it was pretty much straight into quite deep water, so we were swimming almost immediately. I was like, yeah, I feel warmed up, I feel ready to go, even though the water was pretty cold. When we made the first left turn on the course, which I think was probably after about 300 metres, I rolled onto my back as I made that turn, and I was like, oh, no one's on my feet. Like, this is really playing out way better than I anticipated.
So I helped Lucie get her wetsuit on, and then I made my way back to the hotel. I tuned into live stream, I think it was 5 minutes into the swim, so I didn't actually see the swim start. And at the time they were filming Jess and Taylor, and I obviously noticed there was only 2 people there. So my immediate reaction was, oh no, Lucie's not started the race. And then obviously the camera panned out and she was off the front, and I was like, oh okay, no, she has started the race. Wow, that's really good, she's off to a good start. There was still that little nervousness at the beginning of the day, but once I saw that, I thought, wow, she must be feeling great.
It was actually quite choppy on there. The camera didn't quite show how much of a swell we had. But again, I was like, this is probably going to favour me as someone who has a swim background. So I was like, okay, just stick to your own rhythm. Let's not push this too hard. When I got to the end of the swim, I heard that I had a 47-second gap over Taylor. So I was like, okay, this is pretty good. It allows me to kind of get through T1, do my thing. I haven't got a rush, I haven't got anyone around me. Get out onto the bike and kind of just settle into not even really race mode at that point. It's still quite hectic. Like, I remember getting to the first roundabout and there was all the motorbikes there that were gonna like be the police to make sure the road was clear, and it was like they weren't quite ready. So I was like, I think I even shouted at them like, Ali, we've got to go now, like I'm going. So all of that was going on, and then the first bit of the course was dead flat, so it was kind of about just being aero. I was getting fuel on board and kind of just getting settled, and I knew that Taylor would want to gap the other girls, so I fully anticipated that she would ride up to me and then hopefully I would be able to ride with her. So when we hit the first climb on the course, at the top of that first climb, I think you approach about 10 kilometres, Taylor caught me there and I was like, okay, all you have to do is stay with Taylor, and that could be your ticket to the win today. And we were pushing some pretty big numbers on that climb, and I was like, okay, I feel like this is really solid, and it should mean that we're going to start to get a gap on the other girls.
In training the few days before, you'd been dropping some pretty big watt bombs up that climb, so I knew you was in good form, and I had like quiet confidence, but obviously I had confidence in Kona, and that went how it did. So I was never overconfident, but quietly confident.
Then we hit the main climb that I actually managed to kind of reel a little bit of time back to Taylor on that, and then it was like some smooth rolling descents and a lot more fast-paced riding, and there was some really strong crosswinds there. So I'm very used to those conditions from riding in Lanzarote, so it gave me a slight advantage, allowed me to get back up to Taylor, actually take the lead for a bit as well, and we kind of did most of the ride like that, swapping the lead and feeling like we were riding strong and gapping the other girls. We got all the way back to the descent, which felt really good. I don't think me or Taylor really pushed that descent. We kind of just flowed down it, used it to kind of have a little bit of rest before we got back down to the flat again, and then we were riding into T2. I dismounted my bike and I felt like I was running well with my bike, which normally never feels great. Starting the run, I was like, okay, try and settle into the pace you want to hit as quickly as you can.
I saw you at kilometre 2 and you looked great. You looked really, really good. Taylor also looked great, so I knew it would be a bit of a battle. And then I cut across the course and saw you at about kilometre 6 or 7. Taylor still looked great, but you looked fantastic and the gap was already closing.
Together for about a kilometre before I felt like I was starting to snap the band on Taylor and starting to feel like, okay, this could be my day, I could get the win here. In that moment I was able to actually pick up my pace a little bit as well, whether that was because I'd got this positive lift because I'd gone into the lead, or whether it was because I just felt solid. It was really cool, and by halfway round that second lap I was like, okay, think I am going to get the win here today, which is pretty special. You don't often get to experience that, especially at World Championship level racing.
Again, around the next time I saw you, kilometre 13, I guess it was, you communicated something to me which made me laugh. And only other times I've seen you do that is in T100 London, where you stuck your tongue out at me and I was like, okay, she's really, really good. So you made me feel a lot more relaxed by giving me that little gesture. And at that point I went on to get my way to the finish line rather than see you another time on the course, because I knew that it would take me a while to get over there, and had a lot of confidence that you were obviously feeling great because you were joking with me on the course. So yeah, it was a nice contrast to how I felt in Kona.
Crowds were unbelievable for the whole run, but especially on that finish line, it was so loud. I think it's probably the most emotion and energy I've ever, it kind of just exploded out of me on the finish line, like I had no control of it. And then to have Reese at the finish line and have that moment where we hugged, and it was such a contrast to the hug in Kona, I think was so special. And it always was like a full circle moment of the heartbreak in Kona and then the elation in Marbella. So very, very special moment, and I was so grateful that we pulled it off, but also just, yeah, relieved that we pulled it off as well, because it had been a really challenging 4 weeks. A lot of people needed that positive lift, not just us, our family, our team. It felt like I'd done it for every single person that had believed and trusted that we would get back on that start line.
That finish line, I can never quite put into words how a World Championship finish line feels. The one in Kona, the first one in 2023, obviously I just wanted you to get over the line because I knew you had the calf issue, but this one I really took it in. Like, I just was looking at everyone and everything and really trying to absorb the moment. I didn't get my phone out and film it because everyone else was, so I thought, well, someone's going to send me footage of it, so I'm just going to try and take it in. Yeah, it was crazy. We do it for those moments, and it was really special, especially after the journey we've been on the last month. It's been super emotional, and I'm just so happy that it's been kind of put right by going to that race, which we wasn't even sure if we was going to do. So yeah, sometimes things have a way of working themselves out.
What an absolutely incredible finish. What a redemption race following on from Kona. And the sheer disappointment and devastation. Look at this, everybody. Look at their smiles. Look at the laughter. Look at the joy.
From my side as a fan of the sport, the distance Ironman and Kona has a huge history. But I feel like on the 70.3 side of things, there isn't too much history as it's a newer event. First thing that comes to my mind is the epic battle with Jan Frodeno, Alistair Brownlee and Javier Gomez in South Africa.
Yeah.
Other than that, I can't recall any really big history in a 70.3 event, whereas I feel like what you and Taylor have done is created a small part of history, especially because you both had the DNF in Kona and then you both came back a month later when everyone said that you wouldn't, and then you both went 1-2 and you was quite dominant in the 1-2. I think that in itself is something that everyone who witnessed it look back on and say that was a really special moment, a memorable moment for our sport, which is still really young, but particularly the 70.3, I think that will go down in history as a truly epic moment and something that many people will be inspired by.
Me and Taylor, obviously, first and foremost, are competitors. We have the same coach, Dan Narang, and I feel like all of us kind of bonded over the really tough time in Kona. Like, to see Taylor get so close, I kind of just witnessed my own heartbreak in having to withdraw from the race, and then it was like I felt it all over again for Taylor in that moment. And then it was hard to see her come into the medical tent looking in a pretty bad way. But then the following day at breakfast, we both sort of caught up and we was already in good spirits, laughing about what had happened. And our poor coach Dan had to witness both of his athletes withdraw from the biggest race in the calendar. There was so much respect between both of us that we both had to go on that journey of heartbreak, not knowing what impact we might have had on our health from what we'd done in Kona, regroup with our own individual teams, and the fact that then we could go and have another battle together and show what we're capable of. I think it's probably only the beginning of the battles that me and Taylor will have. Of course, I've had Daniela Reef in the past, who I've really respected. I've had Annie Howe, but Taylor brings a very fun energy to pre-race, racing and post-race that I haven't really experienced before. So I really enjoy racing her, obviously as a competitor first and foremost, but in this race I would have been happy for either of us to win, knowing what we'd both gone through, and I've never really had that before. Obviously I still always want to win, and it was really special to get the win, but I was just so happy that we both delivered on that race course as well. There was this incredible moment where we just stepped off the stage after doing the post-race press conference, and we were walking back through into the main recovery tent where all the women are there, either on the phone to their family saying how the race has gone, talking to the other women they've raced, or they're getting some food. And I walk into the tent and it goes quiet, and like one by one people are standing up cheering until I'm like completely mobbed by all the women in the tent. And I can't hold back the tears in that moment, like just to feel how much of an impact I've had on these women, and the fact that they've just done their own race but then they're celebrating my race was a moment I don't think I'll ever forget. Like, it's just so incredible to see that. If you were in that tent, then thank you so much, because that really was probably the highlight of my weekend. Really, really special.
World champion representing the United Kingdom, it's Lucie Charles-Barclay.
Saturday's win means more than I can put into words, but I'm going to try. Just a few weeks ago, after that heartbreaking moment, having to step off the course in Kona, I wasn't sure if I'd even make the start line here. Losing a beloved family member soon after arriving home from Kona made it even harder to find focus. But it did affirm the importance of never taking health for granted, and that life is just too short. My husband Reese, my biggest supporter, made the tough call to pull me off the course in Kona. A brave decision, but definitely the right one. Unfortunately, Rhys can't be here now to celebrate with me, as he's attending his granddad's funeral at this very moment. His granddad was incredibly proud of everything that Rhys and I have achieved. And of course, on the race course on Saturday, it was all about honouring him and the other family members that can't be with us.
This has been a really quick turnaround from stopping the World Championships to winning the World Championships in 4 weeks. It's a crazy turnaround, and I don't think we both allowed ourselves to truly feel the emotion of how devastating that Kona blow was, because we both came straight back, and you went straight back to work. I had things going on, and then was pretty much straight into race week by the time that everything had settled down. It's kind of dawned on me that the years gone by when you've had really bad setbacks, injuries, and had to miss a whole part of the season, that was so exhausting at that moment in time to get back on a start line, that it's made me realise that even though it's been your most intensive race season ever, but mentally I'm feeling fresh. I mean, I'm not the one racing, but I'm the one travelling around, and I think it's just kind of put into perspective how exhausting those previous years were when you had a massive injury. You put right something that was wrong in 4 weeks, and I think it would have been really quite mentally exhausting for both of us if we had to go through a whole winter season, pre-season next season, and wait all the way to Kona next year knowing that that went wrong and we had to wait all that time to put it right. Obviously we want to go back to Kona and put right what went wrong there, but it feels a lot easier knowing that you showed that you're a world champion this season when you've had probably the best season of your career. Didn't go to plan in Kona, but you're still a world champion at the end of the day.
And the tears on the finish line. Tell me how you're feeling right now.
Oh, I think that just fixed the disappointment of Kona for sure. That was just the most amazing day. The crowds here were just fantastic, and they allowed me to push all the way to the end. And yeah, I think I fixed this year today.
So up next is going to be the T100 Grand Final in Qatar. I've got 3 weeks of training to do at home before that. Yeah, so last push to end a really good season.
And we are in the process of planning what we should do next season, which feels weird because we haven't finished this season yet, but midway through November, it's about the time. So we want to ask the audience, what do you think Lucie should do next season? Should she race the T100? Should she do the Pro Series? Should she race Challenge Roth? Comment below and we will pick 2 lucky winners, and you will each get a signed Kona TCB t-shirt and a signed Marbella TCB t-shirt.
Thank you so much for watching, and as always, don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos coming soon. Yeah, good luck. This is a 2 hour long video.
Yeah.
Good luck, Holly. Good night.